right here on your hometown station, AM 1220, KHTS. Today we are going to be talking about avoiding issues. Now, I don't know if you guys know this, you probably don't, but I don't normally know the topics that we're going to be talking about until sometimes 15 minutes or 15 seconds before we go on air. So I just think it's very ironic and very funny that this is an issue that, or this is our topic of conversation today, because I have been, I recently have started calling myself out on the issues that I'm avoiding and starting to, I want to take responsibility and start finally acknowledging them and talking about them, because I overlook them and they're affecting my relationships. And so I just think it's funny that it's just so ironic and so happens to be the universe doing its magic, because I was just having a conversation yesterday with my best friend about how I need to start paying attention in my relationships and taking responsibility for the ignoring and the kind of just brushing off, dusting off my shoulder when things come up, and ignoring them basically and trying to move on from them. But really, ultimately, like, they affect me later, because I'll say, oh no, I'm fine and I don't want to talk about this, and then 2 weeks later I'm still pissed or I'm still upset about something with someone. So yeah, I think it's just very funny that this is the topic that you chose to talk about.
Yeah, it actually came about because I was having a conversation with one of my clients, and they were talking about themselves, and they were also talking about their teenage kids, that the frustration was that their teenage kids avoid issues, that they don't know how to address issues. And so I thought it was going to be a great topic, and so I wrote it down on my phone as one of the topics to talk about. I didn't know that was something that you were also dealing with, or avoiding or not wanting to look at, but let's talk about it. So there's a possibility that you or your kids or people in your family just unconsciously avoid dealing with issues, or avoid or overlook, or somehow live in the illusion that if they avoid certain issues in their life, that it's just going to go away. And it doesn't, and the universe doesn't work like that. Actually, when you avoid something, the universe actually says, okay, if you're going to avoid it, I'm going to keep giving it to you. I'm going to give it, and it's going to come harder in different waves. It's going to come more blatantly until you decide that you are competent enough and confident enough to handle issues in your life and handle the circumstances that come up, rather than choosing to keep avoiding them and brushing them under the carpet.
Yeah, I think for your clients that you mentioned who have these teenagers who are avoiding issues, if it's not necessarily just a teenager thing, but that is the age where you start having issues to avoid. Because when you're a kid, there's really nothing that you're just, everything just rolls right off. When you start getting into your 12, 13, 14, 15, so on, that's when stuff starts going on with your friends that you don't want to have that awkward conversation, so you're with your boyfriend or your girlfriend, with your parents, your brother, sister, whoever. That's when all of those issues start, real life issues start coming up, and then that's when we don't know how to handle them, and we don't know what to do. So a lot of it, I think, has to do with you as a parent being there to help them overcome those issues, so that they're not, quote unquote, avoiding them. They know how to take them on and know how to bring them up. I know for me, I'm not really confrontational with my friends or anybody. With my family, I'll go head to head, but with everybody else, I don't want to have that conversation. And still to this day, I'm like that. And it wasn't until recently, like I said, the last couple of weeks, where I'm starting to see it affect my relationships, where I have to take a look at myself and go, wow, I've been doing this all these years. And you had mentioned earlier that we're doing it unconsciously. That's totally what was happening to me. I had no idea. I thought I was a good communicator until the last year or so. I entered a relationship where I realized I am the worst communicator ever. Or I'm like, there's so much room for me to improve. Where I thought I was a 9 or a 10, I'm really, if I'm being honest, I'm like a 5 or a 4. And I thought I was way better than that.
And I think that, as a father, and really practicing being mindful in my parenting, and, giving myself permission to really be self-aware and working on that higher level of consciousness, I can only hope that I'm at least being a good model in our home to show you what it's like to handle circumstances and not avoid certain issues in our life. And I have to, kind of rely on all the times that I've either had issues with you and I've wanted to clean them up, and instead of me avoiding them, giving myself permission to say, hey, let's talk and let's go to the room. Or sometimes we're pulling up in the car, and instead of getting out of the car, I'm asking you to stay behind so we can have a private conversation. And so I'm only hoping that through my modeling, you're learning how to have an effective communication in your relationship with me, with your mom, with your siblings, such that you take that learning experience and transfer it into the world. Now, I can't make you do that. I can only model as best as I can and create a safe environment for you to engage in a conversation, or to be approachable for you to come to me and say, hey, Dad, I have an issue with you. Let's talk about this. And then I got to, at a certain point, kind of let you figure it out on your own. You have to be in your own conscious awareness and go, hey, wait a minute. If I can do this in my family, then why aren't I able to take that out into the world and, transfer that into real time with my friends and my boyfriend and all the people my boss and all the people that I'm in relationships with?
Well, I think personally, for the last couple of years at least, that I've been on this, conscious journey and growing and working on myself, I've experienced us in our family as really good at not really holding things back. We'll just say, hey, this has been bugging me and I can't let it go on any longer, so etc. But I don't really implement that with my friends or outside of my family, because we're just like that. So for me, it's easier. Now, all these years, that's where all the shock came to me, was all these years I thought I was so good at it because I have you guys, and I look at you guys as examples. I see myself, as examples doing it with everybody in my family, but I was going out into the world and not implementing it. So as a parent, you kind of have to understand that it's not going to take, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that you do it, your kids are just going to catch on, because we've been doing it for years. Maybe, the last 7 years or so is when we all as a family decided we were going to, embark on this journey. And I'm still not implementing it, and it's been 7 years. So, don't give up. And that goes for everything that we talk about and we ask you to try with your kids. It's not going to happen overnight. I want to say it's going to happen in 2 or 3 years. That sounds reasonable. If I say, hey, give me and my dad, Alex, 2 or 3 years and we're going to change your life. But I'm looking at it now. It's not 2 or 3 years. It's forever. It's going to be the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's a lifelong journey, to help get yourself to the next level. And then when you're getting yourself to the next level, you're reaching down and pulling your family members up to the level you're at. And then you have to climb up and get to that, 4th level, and you pull the people from 3 up to 4. And so that's really what the process looks like, is I got to get myself up there first, and then when I get myself up there, I can reach down and start pulling people up or inviting them to come play this new game called honest communication, or having the courage to talk out these issues and face them and all that kind of stuff. But I really wanted to break down some of the issues when it comes to young people or even adults that kind of just learn how to avoid circumstances in their life, or how to, not pay attention to issues that need to be addressed or cleaned up. And then we just kind of pretend like it's not there. And then now we're wondering why we're, in our 40s or in our 50s, and life's not supporting us in a powerful way, because the reality is I've been kind of just avoiding handling all the circumstances in my life, or all the loose ends. If I got a bunch of loose ends with all types of different people and I just keep avoiding them, I'm not showing up in a powerful way to those people. And that could affect our businesses, and it can affect our relationships in a very negative way. And I want to really kind of have a conversation and open up a discussion about it. And what I did was I wrote down, why do people avoid handling their issues or addressing their issues or cleaning up their issues? And the number one thing that just kept blaring to me is fear. Fear comes up for us as human beings. And so I wrote down, what kind of fear? For me, it's the fear of confrontation. I think people have this general fear of confronting someone else, and the psychological part of what that entails is, I'm afraid of really kind of calling you on some things, or I'm afraid of getting you into a room and opening up this dialogue where we learn how to clean it up. And this is what I'm really good at, especially working with my clients, is, hey, let's clean it up right now. well, okay, let's do it tomorrow. Nope, we're going to do it right now. We're going to lock the door and we're not going to come out until you and I clean this up, or I teach you how to clean it up, and then we're hugging each other and we're walking out on a whole new level, on a different level of communicating. So the fear of confrontation, I wrote down a few things. I just want to kind of speak them out loud. What would I be afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that I might offend you. And if I offend you, then that's what would keep me to continue to avoid issues. Another thing is that I'm afraid that you'll be mad at me. And if you're mad at me, then that will keep me from addressing issues, and I'm going to continue to avoid. Another fear is that I'm afraid that you won't like me anymore or be my friend, and therefore that keeps me also avoiding issues. Another fear is that I'm afraid that I might not know how to explain myself or articulate myself accurately or get my point across so that you go, Alex, you're right. I can't see it that way. And so if I have that fear and that doubt of myself that I don't know how to speak or defend myself or bring up a good point or paint a new picture or create a new perspective, and I lack that confidence, that would be one of the reasons why I would be afraid to clean things up with people. Another fear is that I'm afraid that you're going to overpower me, or that you're going to manipulate me and talk me out of the stand that I'm taking, or, coming to wanting to clean that up. I'm afraid that you're just a great talker and you're just going to talk me out of it. Another fear is I might not know how to handle the unknown, or the unexpected of what could come out of a conversation if I bring you into a room to clean something up or handle an issue and we close the door and we lock it. I might not know what's going to come up. I might not know how to handle myself. And so that kind of lack of confidence in yourself that you can, just roll with it and in the moment adapt and really kind of take your stand and paint your point of view so that the other person can see your side, and then we can both clean that up, I think is one of the main fears that comes up.
Yeah, and two of those things really jumped out at me personally, and one of them was I'm afraid that you're going to overpower me. I think a lot of the times and I didn't even really know that this was what I was afraid of. I know that I'm afraid of confrontation. I'm afraid of all the things that are going to come with it, but I didn't realize that I'm a little bit afraid of having a conversation with somebody and them not being able to see where I'm coming from, and then spending an hour going back and forth, them spitting out their stuff, me spitting out my stuff, and ultimately them just defending themselves so much and so hard that I realize, oh my God, you're so stubborn. I can't get past this. I can't get through this. And to me, that's challenging in itself, because now I have a relationship with somebody that I could care about, and they're this way, and I there's nothing I can do.
Maybe you're afraid to actually discover that you're in a relationship with somebody that's controlling and righteous and arrogant, and you don't want to see that.
That's exactly it. And I didn't.
And you would be disappointed that if you engaged in that conversation to try to clean it up, and God forbid they show up like that, you're going to be heartbroken and disheartened that this person that you've been in love with and see in a certain way all of a sudden now is not that.
Yeah, and that's why that kind of jumped out at me, is because I know that personally that would be such a
disappointment.
It would be a disappointment. It'd be a turn off to our relationship, where I don't want to be friends with somebody like that, or maybe I don't want to put all my trust and time and energy and effort and love and all that good stuff into somebody who's like that. Now, on the other hand, sometimes I'm like that, so that's a little bit of a pill to swallow too. That, of course, they always say, the thing that you hate or dislike about a person most is the thing that you hate or dislike about yourself. So I always have to kind of come to grips to that when I look at people that I'm upset with.
And I can be like that too. I can be very challenging for somebody to want to clean something up with me or address an issue with me. And I think it's because I've trained myself to look at certain issues or all issues with multiple points of views. So I can see something that you might see something 5 different ways. I can probably see it 8 ways or 12 ways. So one of the things that I have to catch myself is not looking through the perspectives that has me not take accountability for it, because I can easily do that. I can easily, if you came to me with an issue, I can easily point out a point of view or a perspective that puts it back on you rather than looking at it from the powerful position, which is, I can see how you see that. I have to take accountability from this version, and the version is, had I had spoken to you with a little bit more patience, or had I had, been a little bit more compassionate towards where you were coming from, maybe you wouldn't have seen it like that. Now that's the most challenging perspective to grab, and it takes years and years of working on yourself to be able to get to that. I haven't even mastered that. I'm still struggling with that in my own relationships, of figuring out how to take the high road, which is the responsible version. So I can see people, not wanting to come and sit down with me because I can see multiple ways and I can throw them out there. And for other people from their shoes, I'm sure they can see it as, I can't win with Alex. I actually have a friend of mine that, he still kind of is upset with me about certain thing that he saw from his perspective, which was totally not my come from. It wasn't my intention. But I have a friend of mine that says that he's trying to get this one friend to come and like clean it up with me. And I said, man, if he comes to me, I'm totally open and loving, and we'll sit down, and I want that more than anything in the world. And my one friend tells me, yeah, he's afraid of coming to you because he says that Alex is going to use his Jedi tricks on you. and it's like his kind of lingo to say, every time I come and sit with Alex, I don't know how to explain myself in a way that he gets it. But I'm totally open, and I want to get it. I want to get how you see it. I don't want to be right. I don't want to, have it be only one way. I want to be able to see it a different way. And so I'm open to that possibility. It's just sometimes it can be challenging.
Yeah. And then another one of the things, one of the fears that jumped out at me was not being able to explain myself accurately. Instead of trying and then fixing it up at later, which is advice that you've given me.
Or in the moment. Sometimes you try, just give yourself permission to try it. You actually get better at it. But you only get better at it by diving in. Giving yourself permission to dive in with room to work on is when you actually are working on it inside the moment.
And that's the thing that I'm so terrible at. I instead of just jumping in and trying it and re-altering my words and all that, I just don't say anything at all because I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I know that when people say the wrong thing to me, instead of having them explain it, I'll just take it as however I heard it. So instead of saying, whoa, can you clarify? That maybe was not what I think you meant to say. Instead of doing that, I'll just take it and play the victim later and be like, I can't believe he said that to me, and things like that. So because I don't do it, I don't expect other people to do it. So I have a hard time trusting that if I say something, somebody's either going to call me out or let me explain myself.
That's a great point. If you have something that you've identified that you still need work on or you haven't mastered yet, how can you see anyone else even having that possibility? And you're not really giving that person the courtesy or the honor to at least teach you how that might look. And you're holding, I think, yourself back, and you're holding them back to that possibility of creating that breakthrough in that relationship.
One of the greatest things I know we have to go on a break in a second, so I'm going to spit it out real quick. I want to talk about this later because about a year ago, I went to and I've been to all your trainings 150 million times, but for the first time, I went to your relationship workshop with someone I was in a relationship with.
Which is coming back again in a couple months.
Yes, so when I want to talk about that at the end of the show, so listen, but I got this piece of information that we just talked about, basically where I shared I have a hard time sharing because I don't want to be misinterpreted. And you told me and my boyfriend, just say it and then fix it, alter it, come together to find exactly what you're trying to say. And ever since then, it's completely changed our relationship because when I don't want to say anything, he'll go, remember your dad said, just say it.
That's cool.
And then we'll fix it.
Yeah.
And then I'm comfortable just, doing it. But I would never, even if I got that piece of information without him, I would still never do it. The only reason why I do it is because he calls me out on it. He holds me accountable. He keeps reminding me. So I'm to you and to him and everybody who was in that training, I'm very grateful to have had that experience.
That's awesome. And I think that, because he was willing to go there that weekend, he grabbed a couple of tools and you grabbed a couple of tools, and that's what's beautiful about learning and growing together, especially in relationships or in communication, is that you can call each other on it. Hey, remember the last time we talked about this? We made an agreement. Oh yeah, you're right. And then now, because he said that, it opened up now a free, non-judgmental, loving space where you can just throw it out there and then kind of like a piece of clay. If you don't know what the final product looks like, just throw the lump of clay out there and let's piece it together. What a beautiful way to share in a relationship.
Yeah, and I've been to that training. I've been to that workshop on my own, just me. And even though there is a lot to grab and carry, I'm so grateful to have had somebody with me the second time around to experience with, because the information just doesn't translate on my own.
Wait till the next train. Wait till the next one.
Which we'll talk about when we come back from the break.
Sounds
Stay
good.
tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.